Michael Eddington compares Captain Sisko to Inspector Javert. Nog proves his worth again. And sometimes Dax likes it when the bad guy wins. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Also joining us today, Melissa Longo.
Hello.
Yeah.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review. Oh, no yay for the no. Deep Space Nine. Thank you, Arsenio. Thank you. You know, the funniest interview I ever saw was Arsenio Hall trying to interview the Olsen twins back in the day, and they were just so quiet, and he tried everything to get them to talk. He even got like a ball and tried to throw the ball back. It was painful, poor guy. Anyway, doing a review of Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Episode 13, For the Uniform, written by Peter Allen Fields, directed by Victor Lobel. This was February 3rd, 1997. Guys, sit back, relax. It's happy time. It's that happy time of the week where you hang out with your buddies and you talk about Deep Space Nine. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Doing good. Victor Lobel, how do you spell that?
Yeah, I'd never heard of him. Lobl. So maybe that's like a Scandinavian or Slavic spelling, maybe.
Yeah, I see his picture here. I wasn't in this episode. I probably never met them. I'm not sure.
I was wondering if you'd ever met him.
I don't think so, because his name, like, I couldn't even. I didn't recognize it.
Whoa!
I don't know how many episodes he's done.
Oh, he's done 4 episodes and 2 of Voyager, 4 of Deep Space Nine, 2 of Voyager, but one of them is In the Pale Moonlight. I know. Did you see Melissa's reaction? That's why when I saw it, I was like, In the Pale Moonlight has the same tone as this episode.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about In the Pale Moonlight when I was watching this episode because of it. And wouldn't you know, it's because it's the same director.
And I would actually add to that, if I'm not mistaken, Peter Allen Fields, who wrote this episode, also wrote In the Pale Moonlight.
That would be pretty interesting. Let's find out.
Wow.
Yep. From what my research has done, that's there's a connection there. So maybe the two of them really have a good chemistry.
Cirroc Lofton, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice.
Columbo, I actually have it on good authority that Columbo calls Cirroc for advice.
Yes. Just for clues.
He goes, just one more thing, Cirroc.
One more thing. But yeah, so Peter Allen Fields did write In the Pale Moonlight, as well as Duet, which is another favorite episode of mine.
So good.
Legend.
You know, Blood Oath. But yeah, this episode is awesome. Like right away from the beginning, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna like this episode."
And it just kept getting better, right?
Yeah. As soon as it started, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be an episode that I love." This isn't one of those Sisko goes into badass mode and starts just really turning it on. And I love it when he has these dilemmas, like these personal dilemmas of trying to solve something. He really goes through the process of working things out in his own way. That's I just think it's magical when you watch it. That's why I was so excited when the episode started the way it did, talking about the Badlands and Michael Eddington. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yes, I'm so happy to hear you say that, because when I was watching it and I was like gleeful about how good it was, and I was thinking like, oh my God, I'm so, every once in a while certain episodes make me think of you specifically, Cirroc, because I'm like, I'm so excited that Cirroc is watching this and gets to really soak up and see why huge Deep Space Nine fans are such fans of the show. You could really see it. And, but then of course there's that one little nagging feeling. Well, what if Cirroc was like, I don't really like Eddington. It's not really that big. And I'd be so hurt. But I'm like, to me,
Eddington is a great villain. He has the ability to
hero. You mean you mispronounced hero?
Yes, in his own head. Yes.
Yeah, in his own head. Yeah, but he's also like, what's really good about him is that, and I think with all great villains, there has to be something that makes you see it their way, or something a little bit, something that you like about them. There has to be one element of them that you're like, I kind of see where he's coming from, like to a certain degree, I believe. Yes. There's that one element of humanity inside of them. That's when you have a really great villain. You're like, okay, well, maybe he's doing it for a right cause. Maybe, maybe there's some real validity to what he's saying. I mean, the guys that are just pure evil and, they know how to play it, but it doesn't have that kind of layered context to it, like the way Eddington does. I think the fact that we had grown with him throughout the season and we loved watching, I just always kind of was suspicious of Eddington. I always told you that. I'm like, I'm suspicious of this guy.
You're like, who is this? Right. Who is this librarian? Yeah. What's he doing?
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't have many scenes with him, so I'm like, who is this guy? Like, why is he around so much? And what's he doing around here? Well, he's got to have some kind of motive. Seeing that all play out and now watching him go kind of really be one step ahead of Sisko for the majority of this episode and kind of outsmart the whole DS9. It's like, wow, he had all this plan in motion a long time ago. He was programming the ship. He was doing all this sabotaging from years, like from the beginning when we saw him. So I really, right away, I was like, oh, this is going to be a great episode. I'm so excited. So, and it lived up to my expectations.
So Melissa's almost done writing something down, which tells us she has something very important that she didn't want to forget to say, or it's just like, don't forget to pay rent. She's writing down on.
Oh, that's the one. That's the one. Don't forget to pay rent. No, I was just looking up the actor who played Eddington, and just to make sure that I got his name right. And I think he did a wonderful job as Eddington, because
what's his name?
Ken Marshall.
Yeah.
Ken Marshall.
But I've disliked Eddington from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like, Eddington. It's like when I watch the X-Files and Krychek comes on the scene and I'm like, Krychek. But that's good because, I'm just like,
yeah,
put you in the face. But I'm a pacifist. But
a pacifist.
Pacifist. But no. What makes him so good is that he truly believes in his heart of hearts that he is the hero of this story. And he's the only one who can rescue these people who are now refugees. And he's really earnest in what he's doing. Although the way he goes about it is quite questionable. I mean, very questionable. So yeah.
Speaking of that, and maybe we should have saved this for later, but did you guys notice another actor that we have actually interviewed during Virtual Trek Con?
In this episode?
The captain of the Malinche. Eric Pierpoint.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even recognize. Jeez.
Yeah, Eric Pierpoint of Alien Nation.
Yeah.
I didn't even pay attention to that. That's the funny thing.
I didn't.
And I was like, this guy looks so familiar. This guy looks so familiar. That's the funny thing. I was thinking that to myself. Where do I know this man from? But then I was thinking maybe it's like another star. He played, a captain in another episode, and I just didn't think about Eric Pierpoint. Yeah.
See, I think I might have missed it, but I was prompted ahead of time by shout out to Marie Segal for mentioning this before I watched the episode. Otherwise, I may have missed it too, but she definitely told me ahead of time. Thank goodness.
I did not.
Yeah.
You caught it right away, Melissa?
Oh, yeah. I've seen it for other stuff, so I'm like, oh, I like that guy.
Yeah.
And he did a fantastic job as well. I think, especially the scene where he was talking to Sisko about how he got played, and he was calling him foolish.
He's like, I didn't mean to say foolish.
I didn't mean to say foolish. And he was really trying to be careful with his words, right?
Yeah.
It's like one of those moments where you're like, let me watch what I say, but there's no really nice way to say it, right? You just got to say it. And Sisko asked for it. He's like, why have I been, taken off the case? And you're like, well, it's like the messenger who has to deliver a difficult message. And I thought he did it fabulously. Right. I thought he played that little moment with the tension was perfect. The really kind of, I'm on your side. I really like you, and I really support you, but orders are orders, and I got to do what I got to do. I felt all of that layered in his performance.
Right. And it was cool seeing him. Obviously, when we saw him in Alien Nation, he had a big alien head, which makes him kind of unrecognizable in this episode. But really, I mean, the first time we've spoken with him was a few months ago, which was 24 years after this. So, I don't know, Melissa, good job. Good job, catching.
Very good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then I also noticed that because you know how they do the guest stars and there's only 3 in this episode.
Wait. We give you all these compliments. What you're saying is you just saw it written at the bottom there when we missed that?
No. I knew it as soon as I saw it, but I also read the names beforehand and I was like, oh, I know that name. Mm-hmm. But then, I'm like, I've seen him in other stuff. And I'm like, oh, I like that guy.
Yeah, he was great.
That was the excitement I felt when I saw Aaron's name. I was like, oh, and Aaron's in this episode? I was like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, because, the opening scene is Sisko, and then they cut away to the credits. And so I'm like, during the credits, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be a great episode. This is one of those kind of episodes where who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Eddington, I love the Eddington storyline, kind of, I just want him to get, I want to get the shaft that he's been delivering out to everybody else. So it's just time for him to get it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Sisko's on the case, he'll get it. So it was really a good start. And then Aaron Eisenberg comes up, and I'm like, oh, and he's in this episode too. So it just got better and better.
Yeah. Yeah. This is to me personally, I feel like this is one of these examples of Deep Space Nine's flavor. Like what sets Deep Space Nine apart from the other series is these kind of gray area episodes. I mean, all Star Trek series have these gray area episodes where they kind of do something that's maybe slightly immoral in certain ways, or they kind of do the not fully good guy and bad guy. Picard did it a couple times, although less often. Janeway did it in the Tuvix debacle. Archer did it in Enterprise when they stranded a ship during the 3rd season Xindi stuff. So they do it, but nobody does it the way Deep Space Nine does it. And nobody does it the way Captain Sisko does it. And Michael Eddington too. Like, so for me, this is like a quintessential Deep Space Nine episode to really give you a feeling as to what sets it apart from the other series. That's how I've felt about it.
Yeah, and this is one of those episodes where I actually have 2 pages of notes because it just couldn't fit it all on one. There was so much to really take notice of. And I guess first of all, I want to just give a shout out to the special effects people. The visual effects were also really good in this episode. There were shots of them flying through the plasma field. I thought it was believable to me. Yeah. There were shots of the Defiant that I really liked, of the undercarriage.
Yeah.
And just kind of gave me like, a little excitement to see the Defiant kind of swerving around DS9 and making loops. So the special effects guys hit it out of the park, in my opinion. I loved it. Also like the music. I thought the music in this one there were moments in there that I felt like Sisko says good hunting. And the music kind of gets ominous at the right place, and right when he's punching the bag, right after that, he's going. It's just like there were moments where I felt like the directing and the camera angles, the music, the special effects, it all came together with a really good storyline and excellent dialogue as well.
Along those lines, real quick, let us give a shout out to Dan Curry, the visual effects producer. I finally got to meet him a couple days back. What a fun, excited, passionate, interesting man. He's got so much to say, so many stories to share. He's got like this infinite like joie de vivre, he's like, oh, what a cool guy. And so I'm glad you mentioned that, because that made me like scroll down and look, and I was like, oh, what do you know? Shout out to our buddy. So shout out to Mr. Dan Curry there. Did you guys, I thought that kind of reminds me of, and I know we're bouncing around, but did you guys notice that like minute and a half of ship porn that we got, where they're like aft thrusters on this?
Yeah, I wrote it all down. The
ship nerds were like, rewind, play it again.
I'm not even a ship nerd, but I played it back because
nice.
I don't know. There was that actually showed me like because you need that communication when you're on a ship.
Oh yeah.
You need that like kind of everybody's talking to each other and everybody's kind of working together for the same goal. I like that idea, so I thought it worked really well. Everybody was mixed in with their lines, so Nog would have a line, Sisko would have a line, Dax would have a line, then Kira, and they kind of went back and forth.
It was like a dance.
It was like a dance of just of technical stuff, but it just made me feel like, oh, this is a real Starfleet crew. Like they know this is why they went to school. This is what they know. It's not just like, they're not just showing up and just making it up. They actually know this kind of stuff, and that's when you see it like on display. Like I stand by to increase deuterium injection rate. It started with Miles, right? Configure driver coils for impulse speed. Set EPS taps at level 3. Sisko says seal the airlock and release docking clamps. Kira's like close the exterior hatches, depressure the airlock. Detach umbilicals, clear all moorings. I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about, umbilicals and moorings. I'm like, there's an umbilical cord?
Yeah.
But I loved it. Actually, I took the time to write them all down because I love that language there. And it made it feel so real to me, and made it feel like, oh, wow, here goes the adventure. Like, this is it. This was an adventure.
Yeah. More big kudos to Peter Allen Fields there for sure. Melissa, did you rewind it and watch it twice?
I watched this episode a couple of times and had to stop and rewind. And the undercarriage of the Defiant, I rewound that to look at that because that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, whoa. And I had to rewind it to look at Sisko's boots. How cool are those boots? I was like, wow, those are sharp. But there's a lot of good moments where I had to pause, and I took a lot of notes too. Lots and lots of them.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a lot of thumb typing.
Yeah. Well, I was focused. But, and it inspired me to do some research outside of, why did they come up with certain names and for things. And I learned stuff too. So that's great. I always love that.
Was the research that you did, was it on the ingredients for the biological weapon that they made? Was it that?
No, I didn't get to that, but I did write it down to see if it was really a nerve agent. But I did some research on the name the Malinche.
Cool.
Okay.
Malinche, which is really fascinating that they named the starship, the Federation ship, the Malinche when it's commonly symbolizes treachery and betrayal in the Mexican language or in the Mexican culture. So
in Mexican culture, because this is the first I've heard of it, is it a reference to a story about betrayal, or is it a character that betrayed someone? What is it exactly?
It's about a woman who was born of noble blood, and her father died, and her mother remarries, and they have a child together. But they want the child of this new marriage to be the sole heir to the, whatever they have, their wealth. So the mother sells the daughter into slavery, and she becomes a concubine for the Spanish. And she eventually becomes a translator for Spain and mistress to Cortez, and is essentially responsible for the Spaniards taking over the Aztecs, conquering the Aztecs. So her name is still synonymous with treason and treachery and betrayal in Mexico. So
she's like the Judas kind of character.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So it's the pinche malinche.
Hey, A+. How do you say A+ in Espanol? That was very good. Well, that sucks. I'm not gonna be able to beat that for the rest of the day.
No, that's crazy. I'm glad to know that extra bit of knowledge, because I think that's interesting, and that they would pick that name. It's you wonder where Peter Allen Fields or whoever it was that came up with the idea to do that. Why did he use that? And that's where, God rest his soul, that it would be nice to ask him these kinds of questions.
Yeah. I was curious, and I was like, oh, well, it could also mean be named after a tree, but I
probably
figured
not. Well, let's hear about this tree. Let's not jump to conclusions. It could be the tree.
It could be the tree.
It could be the tree version.
Bradley, It's beautiful tree with the hairless pods of fruit.
Okay, getting somewhere.
Which also have abortive properties, I guess.
What properties?
Abortive properties. So if you want an abortion, then you take the fruit. Something like that.
Yeah, so 50-50. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
50-50.
But I figured treachery and treason and all of that goes hand in hand with Michael Eddington, so that's probably
right.
Yeah. The other thing that I thought was interesting is this is the first episode, Ryan, you can tell us if we're wrong, that this hollow communicator is used.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Brand new.
That's when it was introduced. And the Discovery was like, we'll take that. Thank you very much. Everything else, nah, but we want that.
We want that bit of technology right there. Okay.
Yeah. So
I thought it was crazy to have the hollow communicator for some reason, for only one reason. And the only reason was it feels like your enemy can actually be in your presence, right? So they can gauge certain amounts of information that you wouldn't want them to necessarily know, right? So they could look at the screens and the monitors and know where your trajectory is or what your speed is, or whatever they can gauge by looking around. It's kind of puts you at a disadvantage to have them on the bridge at that very central location. It's like being in the war room or something, and being able to look around and see
because it seemed like he'd be able to look around. I think they were kind of implying that he can actually see. He's not just seeing Sisko.
But didn't he hack into it?
Yeah, and then it makes you wonder, if O'Brien just set that up on the Defiant, how does Eddington have that same technology to be able to?
Well,
that's
maybe O'Brien had been working on it for a while and confided in Eddington in how it was going, but Eddington, being the sneaky guy that he is,
and then suddenly Eddington became a master engineer and did it himself. So we're going to take a quick break. And we'll talk about this a little bit more because this is lots of fun. And we'll be right back on the 7th rule. Hey, everybody. Season 3 of Star Trek Discovery is now on Blu-ray, DVD, and limited edition Steelbook.
The must-have collection features all 13 episodes and also includes over 2 hours of special features, including deleted scenes, behind-the-scenes featurette, cast interviews, and a gag reel.
Own Star Trek Discovery Season 3 on Blu-ray and DVD now from CBS and Paramount Home Entertainment. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the 7th Rule with Cirroc, Lofton, and Melissa Longo. We're having fun. Let's get right back into it, but let's hit those trivioids real quick, shall we? Captain Sisko goes to Marva 4 to find a man named Singta. Sisko is looking for Michael Eddington. Starship Malinche is on patrol in the DMZ. Sisko tests out the new holocommunicator. Michael Eddington leaves a cascade virus in the Defiant's computers. The Defiant gets a tow from the Starship Malinche. Dax helps Sisko with his boxing training. Captain Sisko takes out his frustrations on a punching bag, kind of the same thing there. Eddington attacked the Cardassian colony on Velos Prime with a biogenic weapon. Eddington compares Captain Sisko to Inspector Javert. A Maquis message turns out to be a brain nursery rhyme. Dax can't stand Victor Hugo, and sometimes Dax likes it when the bad guy wins. There were no NAMs, to my knowledge. There was
Sita.
no. Yeah, but we don't know who that is.
But still, not an appearance mention.
No Trekkian
True.
names. They just went. Was there even a? No, there wasn't even a B plot, was there?
And Bashir wasn't in this episode either.
Was
No,
he not?
he
Yeah,
wasn't.
we thought about him though. What's he up to? What's his game?
I wonder.
What's this Bashir guy up to?
No spoilers.
Anyway.
No, there was so much to unpack in this episode. I think one of the things that I really liked about it was the theme of what the title of the episode is, for the uniform. So this is like essentially, it's like a few good men of Deep Space Nine. It's like, this is what the uniform is about. This is about respect and honor and integrity and this and that. And you he says, you didn't leave Starfleet, you betrayed Starfleet, right? So there was a whole lot of like standing up for the core values of what Starfleet is about, what Sisko was doing here. And I like that too, for the uniform speech that he was giving Eddington when he was telling him about himself and how he betrayed everybody. I thought that was like a classic speech for just in general about being associated with something that has this level of integrity and history and you not treating it with that level of respect and kind of dishonoring it. I thought that was, it hit the nail on the head as far as setting the tone for what was motivating Sisko, right?
Yeah, there was so much good stuff, and it felt like this episode kept getting better. Like this, the first 5 or 10 minutes, it's good and it's exciting. Then the next 10 minutes, it's even better, and it just kept getting better and better. And there was a point when there were about 8 or 10 minutes left in the episode where you start thinking, wait, is Sisko not going to get him? Is it going to be one of these things where he's going to be like, Captain's log, we did not get blah, 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 but I will keep the fight and I will keep, you start kind of thinking like, is it going to be one of those episodes, kind of like a moral victory or a we'll get you next time kind of thing. But then you say, well, there's 8 minutes left. I know you, Star Trek. Something more's going to happen here.
Well, and I like that he turned it on. He started playing Eddington's game. And that's the way he got Eddington is by beating him at his own game, essentially. He's doing exactly what Eddington was doing to the Cardassians.
Mm-hmm.
But he at least gave the planets warning. Eddington gave nobody any warning about he was dispersing a deadly nerve agent to kill commit genocide on Cardassian people.
Well, he was just making them flee. He wasn't.
Oh, but the Maquis aren't killers. Deadly or nerve agent or not, we're going to shoot down this Cardassian transport ship too. So
I will say, though, they do a really good job of making it so that, look, if you were one of those colonists, one of those Maquis colonists, or if you were one of those people whose homes were given to the Cardassians, and there's way more to talk about there. But if you were one of those people, you would view Eddington as a hero. You would view the Federation as the villains. And Deep Space Nine does a really good job of saying, look, the reason you're rooting for Sisko is because of point of view. You're following his story. If we were following Eddington's story and the Maquis story, we'd be rooting for them.
But correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Correct me
I
if
stirred
I'm
the
wrong.
pot there.
One, the planets in the demilitarized zone are in Cardassian territory and were initially Cardassian, right? They belong to Cardassia.
I don't think so. Maybe, but I don't think so.
Isn't that they were given to Cardassia because they were initially it was part of the peace treaty that was signed between Cardassia and the Federation.
Yeah, but I don't know if they were originally Cardassian planets. I think what it was, and I could be wrong.
I feel like it was in Cardassian space. So the Cardassians were just taking back what was theirs.
I think what it was they just had a peace treaty. And like all peace treaties, there are some concessions that have to be made. And they basically said, there's all this area that they're fighting over. And the way they create the peace treaty is they kind of just like do a little zigzag line and say, okay, these are our plans. And it's never perfect because the Cardassians aren't going to get everything they want and the Federation's not going to get everything they want. But eventually they come to a decision, and then their lives that are affected by this peace treaty. And then there are some Federation people that are now suddenly in what is considered a Cardassian space or colony. And they say, well, hang on a second, we don't want to be Cardassian. There are Cardassians that feel the same way. And that's how they got Deep Space Nine and Bajor, was that peace treaty made it so that now Bajor and Deep Space Nine are in Federation space. And that's why the Cardassians had to pull away. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're right that they were originally Cardassian planets or something. I don't really know. I think we're going to have to ask the nerds. The fans in the free-for-all.
Yeah, because I feel like there was a war between Cardassia way back when. Right. Between the Federation and Cardassia. And then somehow the Federation ended up on those planets. But then, and I get it. People don't want to relocate, but it's not like they weren't given an option to not have a new home.
Cirroc's engine is revving so hard right now. All right.
Well, this is what I was going to say. What was the name of the other captain who was
Sanders?
No, the guy who was leading the Maquis. Was it Calvin?
Eddington. Oh, Calvin Hudson. No.
Hudson, yeah.
Yeah, Cal Hudson.
Was it?
Which is a very similar name to Cal Hutchinson, I've noticed, right? There's Cal Hutchinson and Cal Hudson. Very different characters.
Yes, I know.
Okay. Oops. So Cal Hudson, right?
Yeah.
That was the guy who was helping the Maquis, and didn't Sisko let him go at the end?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Okay, and the reason he let him go is because even though he's fighting for the same cause, which is the Maquis, right? I mean, yeah, the Maquis, he's fighting for the same organization group, but his tactics were something that Sisko could vouch for. Like, all right, this is what you plan on doing. That's okay.
And they had like 20 years of history of friendship too. I mean, that's also an important
thing. They had the friendship, but he also had that Cal Hudson wasn't doing something that Sisko thought was immoral or terrible. In this case, he's looking at Eddington. He's like, you basically released biological weapons on innocent people, and you can't side with that. So there would be no instance in which I would watch this and be rooting for Michael Eddington's cause. Now, I could root for his cause, but not by his tactics to achieve the results of his cause. It's like, yeah, you're fighting for these people that got, their planet taken away from them, or they got their homes taken away. That's totally fine. You can be the voice of those people, but you sabotage DS9, you sabotage the Defiant, you send the biological weapons. How can you condone that? If you were bringing your case to the United Federation and saying, hey, I'm going to be the voice of these people that are, not getting their due diligence, and I'm going to file the paperwork on their behalf so that they get their day in court or whatever it is. Or if you help them fight on a ground level, like to retake their space, right? And you're like, all right, we're gonna mount an operation and take our land back. But doing it in the way that he did it, which is basically, I'm going to kill everybody on the planet if they don't evacuate and get the hell out of there. I don't see how you could possibly
warning.
do that.
With no
warning.
Well, I will see that, and I will raise you a Major Kira, who is a terrorist that we do root for. And just recently, they talked in an episode about how she killed innocent children for her cause. And not because the children had done anything wrong, and not with any warning.
But the difference is that Bajor was an oppressed planet. They were slaves.
And that's how the Maquis feel. Right.
They're not slaves, though. They're not put in internment camps. They're not made to process ore in facilities. They're not slaves to the Cardassians. That's the difference. They're fighting for freedom.
Yeah, and also the tactics are different. Mm-hmm. If somebody, like Kira, picks up a gun and says, okay, we're going to fight on a battlefield, you're fighting on a battlefield against other soldiers. So you're not necessarily just attacking innocent people that have nothing to do with the decision, right? Fighting somebody man to man and saying, hey, we're going to fight it out. That's fair play, in my opinion. Two militaries, two armies saying, hey, let's go heads up. But once you start doing biological weaponry, or you start exterminating people who are innocent people who are not violent, who are not part of the war, who are not, doing anything, then that's where you've crossed the line. And I think it goes back to tactics.
Yeah.
Right. But if you'll recall, what I'm referencing is a couple weeks ago when we reviewed The Darkness and the Light, and the guy said that Kira made like this bomb, or Kira's team made this bomb that killed the guy that she wanted to kill, but it also killed 20 other people, including children that were innocent. So there were a lot of, terrible deeds done for what they considered to be the greater good. And that's what's cool about Deep Space Nine, is it gets us to go, boy, that's really terrible. Yet I understand why she did it. And Kira has had a lot of character growth from somebody that originally was like, all Cardassians must die, to a few years later going, there's a little bit of gray area there. And I kind of did some things, and there's definitely a little bit of retrospective, not necessarily that she would have done anything wrong, but that now she, and it first started in Duet, where she kind of started to learn that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do sometimes root for people that are doing bad things. It's not always you're doing good things to get good results. Sometimes you're doing bad things to get good results. And I understand that.
Spoken like Sisko's son right there.
That's where Star Trek plays on those things. And I mean, Sisko himself essentially does what Eddington does in order to get Eddington, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that they really played that line at the end kind of perfectly, where they said, well, now all the people from the planet that Eddington bombed or whatever are going to move to the planet that Sisko ruined because they can live under those conditions.
Yeah.
And those people will move on to the other one and they'll switch essentially, right?
Yeah, which is what the peace treaty would have done anyway. If everyone would have just followed the peace treaty, that's they're just doing it anyway.
Well, this is juicy. Let's bring this up with the free for all in like 10 minutes because there are a couple people in there that may know a little bit more about the history of it, but I don't want. And you guys can overrule me if you'd like, but I don't want to go through this review without talking about our Lord and Savior, Aaron Eisenberg. He definitely kept his ears open in this episode.
Yes, he did.
And it was another really cool thing to see him step up to the plate when he said, I forgot what the word was, explosions. And he was like, explosions. But then he immediately... Yeah, exploding. But he immediately recollects himself and says, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, yes, absolutely. And
then exploding?
Yeah, said it to himself.
That was great.
I like that he's called upon to do like really one of the most important jobs at this very critical moment for everybody. So like he is their comm system. Everybody's relying on him in order to make stuff happen. And I like that he's the one that's chosen for that. And it's particularly like the nickname that O'Brien gives him in this episode. He calls him Mr. Academy.
Yeah.
He's like Mr. Academy over here. And so I would like to add that to the nicknames for Aaron Eisenberg. Mr.
Academy.
Yes.
That's great. Yes.
It shall be done.
It shall be done.
So 2 weeks ago was that first moment that Nog, now finally officially a part of Starfleet, steps onto Ops and has his moment. I think this may be the first time he stepped on to the bridge of the Defiant as a part of Starfleet. So he's definitely moving up quickly and he's proven his worth quickly. And it's kind of like when you have, for example, on a production, a PA that first shows up and you're like, can this guy or girl do anything right? You know, and they show up and they kick ass and you start moving them up, or any job or any, you know, military situation or any organization. And he's one of those star pupils that they drop a load on him and he excels. And so they go, okay, well, let's see what else he can take.
Well, and he feels like a natural fit in that environment. It feels like he knows he's good at this job and he can do this job. And Sisko and the crew have also put that faith in him too, knowing that he can do this job, which just says a whole lot, especially from where he came from. The very first episode, he's stealing shit. So, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, so this is huge. This is amazing to see and so wonderful.
Well, you know, and the other thing that, you know, the people who join the military oftentimes join for that discipline so that they can, you know, learn respect, so that they can learn how to become productive people in life and just how they can become refined and fine-tuned in some of the things. It's kind of a guidance path. And it makes men out of boys and women out of girls, right? It helps with the maturation process of an individual, teaches you about self-discipline. And you can see that transition in Nog's character from being reckless and you know, just say and do anything and doesn't care about the consequences, to now being this really disciplined stand-up person who holds himself accountable for everything. And I like that growth in who he is. And I believe that's why he's earned the trust and respect of the other crew, because they've seen the change in him, right? It's nothing better than seeing somebody who's been reformed or who's found a better way to live their life. We all want to see drug addicts recover and pick themselves up. We all want to see a homeless person get their life together and get a job. Like, those are the redeeming stories that are really uplifting to hear. And for somebody like Nog, who was mischievous and getting into trouble and basically having a criminal background, to now being on the side of law enforcement, or to be inside of just of integrity and discipline and respect and love of self, I think those are the things that really resonate for me. And I love watching the transformation of Nog's character.
Yeah, you can really see that he's found his purpose.
Yeah.
His direction. And it's great to see, and it's great that he gets to do it in the family that he's kind of grown up in too, with the people of Deep Space Nine. And that's wonderful to see as well.
Yeah.
I love it.
But as you said, it looks like he really fits there. Like, it doesn't seem like a stretch, or, like he doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. He looks like he fits there, and it looks like a good addition to the crew. Maybe that's because we've seen all these episodes with him on the Defiant, or maybe it's just, aesthetically, it just looks like he gets slipped right in and it works. I also liked the Les Miserables references. Those were always cool. When he sends him the book, he's like, why don't you read it again and pay close attention to Inspector Javert? And nobody wants to be told, hey, you're like that, that secondary character in a book. Check it out. Hang on a second.
But I like that Sisko one-ups him. He's like, oh, he sees me as Javert. Okay, I can be Javert. Let me be Javert, and I will.
Yeah, there was a moment where at the end says, did you notify Starfleet that you were gonna, drop those torpedoes or something? He's like, oh yeah, I knew I forgot to do something.
Yeah.
Well, he couldn't, because the comms were down. So how could he?
Good point. He tried. He really would have. Boy, oh boy.
Now we know who's representing him at the court martial. Melissa, you're on the legal team.
Yeah.
You are a hire. And the brain keeps things cold. Why do the brain keep things cold? They live on a cold planet?
Yeah, they're a cold planet race. And I believe we get to see them later on, but they wear this suit that keeps them cold. They're basically like in a refrigeration suit everywhere they go. Okay. And nobody's actually seen what they look like because they're covered head to toe in this refrigeration suit. Although it's been said, I don't remember if it's canon or just implied elsewhere, that they look like wolves, like Arctic wolves.
They're really hairy. But I don't know. I always thought it would be interesting if they explored the brain, because we don't know that much about them. Mm-hmm. And what would it be like to live on an Arctic planet?
Picard, that's you guys. You guys got to cover the brain. We want to know. If Lower Decks does, they'll make them look like cute little puppies or something. It'll still be cool, but the brain are rad.
Yeah.
There was also a moment there when Sisko was giving the order to fire those torpedoes, and everybody, you could see Kira and Worf. They were both like looking like, are we really about to do this? Like,
their reactions were priceless.
Their reactions were priceless, and I like that the director caught those reactions and made sure to put them in there, because it made it more intense. Here comes the pick.
It's time for the nitpick number 4. Why didn't anybody tell Sisko that he stinks when he showed up in his boxing outfit?
He's the boss.
That's the nitpick.
That's what I kept wondering. Like, he went directly. I'm like, oh man, get changed, dude. You were sweating a lot.
Because he's the boss.
I'll give you. That's one. Melissa hit it right on the head. And number 2 is his hands were still taped. And never say anything bad to a person whose hands are taped for boxing. They literally
Just like don't
They're
talk
really
jive
fun.
to somebody who's already got a mouth guard in.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
Oh man, I love this episode. So it's kind of, I'm gonna be a little bit partial to how I liked it. So I'm gonna say that it was an 8.5. That's my guess. 8.5.
Melissa, did you already check? You usually already know.
I already looked.
I felt like it was a 9, honestly, but it got an 8.0.
Oh
It
no! What?
Just
I
an
know.
8.
I was actually surprised. This time I was surprised by it. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, I really thought it could have got a 9. I would have gotten 9. I just for some reason went a little bit lower, just to get the overall pool number.
right. The
But
averaged
my
out.
personal is 9. My personal is 9, but I was thinking it would be about an 8.5, but I guess it's lower than that. Great episode though.
So let's hop over to the free for all. And we do want to give a special thank you to Carmen, aka Skillet, PJ, Tomas, TJ, Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Yvette Blackmon, Homer Freezy, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon, and Marie Segal, Titus Mohler, Tim Baum, Susan V. Gruner, and Mohamed Noor. We'll be right back. The free for all. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Seventh Rule. This is the free for all. We got TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri. We got Sue Gruner, PhD. We have Timothy Baum out in Mars. Melissa Longo's back. Homer Frizzell is SMHing all over the place. We have Eve England. There it is. Eve England out in Wales. Mohamed Noor teaching us stuff. And Dr. Anne-Marie Segal not getting a shout out this week, but she got one another time. So that's good.
Oh, ouch.
Wow.
Oh, no, wait. No, she did get a shout out in this episode,
So
didn't
doing,
she?
you did shout me out.
No,
She did.
you did.
Actually, we
get
just
a shout
shouted her out right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, we
I just got one right now.
Two.
Yeah, because you told us about Colonel
Eric.
Sanders.
Eric Pierpoint.
Mhm.
He said these
yeah,
are the
yeah.
things she can't do without.
There we are. Tears for Fears, I think.
Yeah.
Come on. She's
Come on.
to
I'm
you.
talking to you.
Come on.
Yeah. You missed
Can't
that,
touch that
man.
one.
So
I'm just going to copy Control F, Control C, Control C, Control V, SMH the whole way through in the
That's
chat.
it.
Make
And
sure
we-
you don't control alt delete.
No,
Just stand the chat.
all right, enough
And
about the
do
control,
FC
Janet.
Hammer pants as well.
There we go. You got it. Thank you,
I got
Melissa.
I was 17.
Thank you. Sorry, they didn't know that I was making a joke because I didn't go.
helpful. Otherwise, we have no idea.
Oh my
So-
goodness.
Real quick though, when we were watching, there was about a minute and a half of this episode where they were doing all like the military jargon and flying the ship out. And Tim, do you remember that scene and how accurate was that? Or did you go like, oh, interesting twist? Or was it like directly pulled from military? There it is.
Unmuted now. It was pretty accurate. Star Trek is based on Navy.
Mhm.
But so yeah, it was pretty accurate. So I guess that's my answer. It's like, yeah, the jargon's, because most of Star Trek is Navy jargon, has been for all 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was. I didn't notice anything that was way out there. Like, what the hell? But yeah, no, it was pretty accurate.
Nice. And by the way, I'm wearing something from Abyssinian Kiosk, everybody. Cirroc's
All
sister
right.
runs that thing. This is the Sisko
The
kid.
Cisco kid.
Cirroc's
Cisco kid,
sister
original.
runs the site, designs all the stuff. It's really cool. Check it out in the description box below. That's AbyssinianKiosk.com. Does anybody else have an Abyssinian Kiosk thing up?
Ew.
Looks so cool. Here it is.
Yeah, that one's awesome.
California.
Nice.
Wow.
No doubt about it.
Gorgeous. Sue, what are you wearing today? Something very,
Yeah.
oh, there it is. Beautiful.
Ooh.
You can get that on
Red.
teespring.com/the seventh
Ooh.
rule. That's our
Ooh.
online store, seventh rule goodies. That's also in the description box below. Anybody else have seventh rule?
Yeah, chat pack.
Wait, hang on, hold it. Hold it. Oh,
Chat
oh, there it
pack.
is. Nice.
Okay.
Comfiest jump forever.
Love that one. Yeah.
Anybody else? And then
Flat
up
shoe
next,
sweatshirts.
I'm definitely catching at least a couple walking arts made by Melissa.com.
Bracelet. I saw you.
Ah,
Resist.
resist.
You can find that in the description box below. That's walking art made by Melissa.com. I also see Mohamed is wearing it today.
I love that one.
Just a simple tailor.
Yeah.
Love this one.
Nice. Cool. Did we catch everybody?
What's your backdrop, Susan?
You know, it's a really good question. I got it on the Star
Oh,
Trek.
Prodigy.
I'm not sure what it is exactly, but I like it.
I like it too.
Is that one of the new
Purple, so, yeah,
Prodigy
it's all
still?
good.
Maybe, yeah. Cool.
Okay,
I,
looks good.
I wanted to mention that I've got my best friend. He's still in the Navy. He is coming back from Djibouti, which is surrounded by Ethiopia. He's on the Horn of Africa. And of course, it's 125 degrees there. He can't wait to get back home. But cool guy. So
Nice.
Thanks for not saying any jokes there, Ryan. We appreciate
I
that.
was- Yeah.
I actually,
Thinking.
I remember
I
the
was-
first time I
we all knew it
mentioned
was coming.
Djibouti, I told somebody about a country named Djibouti, and I swear she's like, there ain't no country called Djibouti, because she just, like, the way I was saying it, I guess she's like, what is this idiot? What are you talking about? I'm like, no, it's Djibouti. She's like, shut up, dude.
I knew you had something.
I
to do
swear,
with
it just
knew
I just got like a flashback to when that happened. And it's I was laughing so hard because it sounds so silly.
All right.
Anyway, sorry, Homer. There he is doing his
I was-
thing.
I was thinking the
SMA,
same thing,
SMA.
Cirroc.
DNA does not approve.
But it's all true. So maybe you guys can help us with this discussion we've been having. Do you guys know the history of the demilitarized zone and the Cardassian, the colonies that Cardassia gave up and the colonies that the Federation gave up, and what kind of created the Maquis? Like, were those planets originally Cardassian? Were they always Federation colonies? Were they always in dispute? Does anybody know, like, where's Robert Hewitt Wolf when you need him, you know?
I know.
they were mixed. There was some Cardassian, there was some Federation. And when they finally decided, you know, the 50 light years demilitarized zone, it was like there was some negotiation. It's like, okay, you're going to give up this planet, you're going to give up this planet. And that's where the Maquis came in, because, oh, I'm not giving up this planet. I've lived here all my life. So that's how it formed. It's like they finally came to an agreement. Okay. And it's kind of like World War II, where they divvied up Europe.
Right.
Okay. You guys would come here, you know, and then eventually that became an issue with East Germany, West Germany, and the Eastern Bloc. But that's the history of it, as I understand.
So both sides were giving up planets.
Right.
Yes.
But it sounded like in TNG that when they like first started talking about it, that actually the Federation ended up giving more up because just to make it stop, I think their war stop.
Yeah.
So that like didn't sit well either with the colonists.
And, you know, that's kind of the dispute, who gave up more.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's still, I mean, in the Star Trek universe, that's still disputed. It's
I
like,
think, I remember Calvin Hudson saying that the Federation, one, gave away too much, and two, the deal was unfair because the Federation would honor the deal and protect the Cardassians, but
Yeah.
the Cardassians wouldn't really protect the human colonies. Was the way that
Yeah.
they felt. Yeah, I remember this from the Next Generation too, when Picard went to move the Indians, and I think that was Wesley's last episode. Also,
It was, yeah.
Nemesis.
Interesting.
Good episode. One of my
You
favorites.
guys
This is good.
have any other thoughts on this episode?
But-
We were all blown away by it. Were you saying something, Cirroc?
Yeah, my question was, but the whole reason they divvied it up was to end fighting, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
weren't their lives being lost in the process? There was a war
Right.
going on, and
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
technically that stopped the bloodshed, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I
Yes.
mean, I know that there were people that had to relocate or whatever, but it was better than having people come and like blow you up and kill you, right?
Yeah, it was in an attempt to save lives
Yeah.
Right.
rather than
Okay, so yeah, so at least I mean, I just want to understand that the purpose was to stop fighting and stop bloodshed. So yes, there were certain places that were in the boundaries of those lines that they drew that may not have been comfortable with the people who were on the receiving end of it. But at the end,
Right.
they were no longer threatened by this war.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, it's definitely seems to be like it's for the greater good. And we all see that, that's for the greater good. These two, groups of people are at war and they have to create, a non-aggression pact or a treaty, and nobody's going to be perfectly happy. And some people are going to be screwed out of the deal
Mhm.
in some ways. But from the colony's point of view, they never signed up to be somebody's bargaining chip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're like,
Right.
hey, my home and my land and my family are not your pawn or not your bargaining chip. And Mohamed is nodding very powerfully. Do you have anything to add to this?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, like you said, there was loss of life, but it's unclear how much of that loss of life was happening in those areas. I mean, they may have been fine. So,
Right.
they may have been, like you said, they may have been thinking, why don't you give away Earth instead of giving away our planet, right?
Like, because Earth is off limits, punk.
and it's not in the demilitarized zone.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I think it's interesting. It's like I spent a lot of time in Korea, and we have a DMZ there.
Mhm.
And the Korean War is still going on. It's a ceasefire. There's never been a treaty. But that stretch of land on the 39th parallel has actually become a biome of no humans have been in there. So they're studying all that. But it's like, yeah, the war's not over. And it's just between the Cardassians and the Federation. The war never really ended, but we agreed to a ceasefire. And this is our DMZ. And people in the DMZ are sorry, but you're in the DMZ. So we're going to give this to Cardassians. We're going to give this to the Federation. That's
Yeah,
my
you're stuck in between two superpowers essentially, and you just got to deal with it. That's it. It's like
yeah.
That's
either that or
life.
mutually assured destruction. So it's like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? I had a question for you guys about, because I know you guys know about the science of a lot of things, and there was some science about in this episode talking about selenium and rhodium nitrites and synthesized cobalt diselenide and stuff. Did any of that stuff ring any bells, Anne Marie?
When it comes to like stuff that interferes with like plant growth and things like that, I don't know that much about botany. I'm no Keiko, but I do like when they talk about like targeted warfare, because it would be really easy to like, if you're so good at science that you know the genetic code so well, to target like certain things in one species than another. So that part makes sense and is really
Kind of the opposite of personalized medicine.
Yeah, exactly. Or like using it for bad.
Personalized viruses, essentially.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've always loved selenium because it's named after Selene, who is the goddess of the moon.
Mm.
Oh,
over years. So okay,
Wow.
it's a weird obsession, but yeah, no.
I thought he was going to say Celine Dion.
Yeah. Or Selena.
I was
Or
thinking
Selena Kyle.
Selena.
It's
Selena
spelled
Gomez.
differently. So
Or Kyle Riker.
Gomez.
Tim, you're dropping bombs today on them.
34, FYI, on the chart for chemistry. It's number
34.
34.
Nice.
The atomic weight is 78.97.
Wasn't that Walter Payton 34? I don't remember.
yes, I have one of
was-
his jerseys signed.
Nice.
Shaquille O'Neal too on the Lakers.
All right. Okay.
Shack Attack.
Sorry, Eve. Sorry.
Okay.
so
Yeah.
so
you
here's
know what? I'm sorry. I just wanted
No,
to
go ahead.
just throw in a line that I really loved in this episode. I forgot to mention it earlier, and I want to say it now. Odo says, "Didn't Starfleet Command send Eddington here because
Yes.
Make sure you remind them of that."
Yeah.
That was a classic.
So funny.
Yeah.
Very pointed.
I love when Odo like remembers everything and busts it out.
Oh,
So
that
funny.
was the best because it's like, okay, I have to stand down and afterwards, by the way, he was a traitor. So I was right.
Yeah. Cirroc, I'm glad you brought that up. That was one of the best lines in there. Sir, have you ever reminded Starfleet that they stationed Eddington here because they didn't trust me? And Sisko goes, no. And he says,
Oh, please do.
Yeah.
And he's like,
And he walked out. It was perfect.
Epic. Oh my
Is
God,
there
that's
another
amazing.
episode where they use that weird holodeck or whatever the way they communicated? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
the hollow communicators.
I don't remember that being. Why didn't they use that
Ever again?
Because it was
Yeah. for
new.
the rest of this series?
I thought they did
I know
use it
Captain
again,
Pike
don't
doesn't
they?
like them.
Kind of feel like they might in another Maquis episode later on, but yeah, I know it was controversial. Like when they started it, and it was more just for dramatic effect. They wrote it in so that way it's more powerful if Sisko's talking to him instead of a view screen. I mean,
We need to be writing down all these questions for Robert and Ira because we have so many questions for these guys.
It
I have
reminded
a
me
question
of
for
Star
them.
Wars.
All right.
The Star Wars thing when the guy that he was talking to, he leaned over and he went just like that, like Leia did with R2-D2, and I thought, oh, they stole that. They stole that. Did anybody else think that of the? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it
I
was the
know.
other captain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or when Eddington did that too, but I didn't think Star Wars.
They use it something
just
like that in
thinking-
Discovery sometimes.
yeah.
Homer, you had a question?
I do. To the writers, I want to know why Sisko left his phaser behind at the very beginning when he could have been talking to Kira and picked it up at the same time.
Maybe he stepped on
I think
it
this
so
guy
that it
needs a
beamed up
tie,
under
man.
his
That
foot.
is
That's
that's a solid nitpick right there.
Solid.
Just don't.
I got a nitpick.
Quality.
If we're nitpicking. So when they catch the two ships at the planet that the Maquis poisoned, they just straight up blow one of them up. Now they haven't on screen in any kind of way determined which ship Eddington's on. And Sisko earlier said he wanted to catch him alive. So like they just straight up blew up that ship with like probably 50 people in it that were humans.
Yeah.
Without a second
Target
thought.
the engines.
Oh my God, the
They didn't
effects
even
budget on this show.
The
They didn't
effects
catch
budget.
those people at all. They
They
just
are
blew them
off
up.
the hook.
Your dollars at work. And
Yeah,
penalties.
and that, to add to that, TJ, at that moment when he blew up the other ship, then the Eddington ship went and disabled like a Cardassian cargo vessel or something.
Right,
and
right.
it was falling towards the planet because of the gravital pull. So while they were having that dialogue, and Eddington was like, you only have 2 minutes to do this and make a decision, I was thinking Sisko could have easily just blew up that second ship. They were like, yeah, I'll blow you up and then go save the other ship. There was enough time, I thought, to get both of them done. But yeah,
Very
you're
true.
right. It was kind of like they did kill off the that ship and not really talk about the lives that were lost on that first ship.
I also
Like,
really
poof,
love
be gone.
Yeah.
I love like the fact that Les Mis is mixed in, and
Yes.
I love how Quark is such a master of the house, even though it's not said in the episode. And then I really love
He's
that
so
in one of
is.
the Master of the House songs, he actually says the words "free for all." Like,
Wait, when was this?
Really? What?
In
What
the
did I
Les
miss?
Mis song. It's not
Uh-oh.
in this episode.
Oh.
so fun. So now I just imagine Quark talking about free for all.
That's headcanon right there.
Yeah.
That's
So we have
deep.
about 10 minutes left. We've got a quick question to throw around at everybody here. And boy, is it a fun one.
The doozy.
Ooh.
So today we got to enjoy watching Nog show his worth, presumably for the first time on the Defiant. You know, a couple weeks ago, he got to show his worth for the first time in Ops
In the
As a-
gym.
as a member. Yeah, in the gym, in Ops, and now in the Defiant. So he's definitely proving his worth. So my question to you guys is, if you were to prove your worth on the Defiant, what would be the skill or the talent that you would bring to the Defiant? Because with him, it was his great hearing. And, you know, so they needed Nog specifically to do it. I know it's a toughie. A lot of frowning faces right now. So we're going to start with Mohamed here.
I mean, the easy answer would be like, oh, science officer, but like, no, that's too easy. I don't know. I guess I'm really good at organizing things, so I can
That's
imagine.
true.
Yes.
We saw the promenade at Virtual TruckCon.
Very good.
Maybe I go to their galley
Cruise
and like
director of
organize all the
the
food
Defiant.
and organize all the arms and the armory.
You'd be like, O'Brien, all the wires are mixed up.
Exactly. What is that? Undo it. Let's put it all straight.
Let's color code this.
Yep. I'll go with that.
Very
I
good.
love that.
Thanks.
From one doctor to the next, Sue.
Well, you know, it used to be a pilot, and I like to think that I could have gotten around that
Wow.
pylon really well.
Oh yeah, that's
Awesome.
turn it up.
Nice.
That was
5
close.
degrees.
It
Was
was
close, right?
way too close for them to be so relaxed about it.
And the Defiant looked a little jerky as they made that maneuver.
He's like, I hope
That's
you
because
see
they
that
said-
pylon.
They said the gyro stabilizers were at 50% or something like that. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Even just
Yeah.
hearing that made me motion sick.
Inertial dampeners.
Melissa.
Like big weights
Oh,
behind TJ.
Yeah.
wait, let's see.
TJ's
it.
background.
Oh yeah, there it is. You're right. Here it is.
Love that.
Oh yeah, the workout.
Guy had some guns on him.
What do you say, Melissa?
I don't know if I have a specific job, but I'm really good at keeping calm in a crisis. So whatever, yeah. So if things are exploding, I'm not going to be running around screaming with my, like a chicken with my head cut off. So whatever needs a level head.
New
During
meaning to the
times of
term
crisis.
calm officer.
Yes.
Homer's about to throw
Oh
up.
my
right
God,
now.
I love that. I'm so addicted to that job.
Look at that. That is a face you have to earn from Homer. You have to
Yes.
earn that.
You do.
Uh,
Yes.
what do you have for us, TJ?
Well, before I answer that, I'm going to wish myself, this is the 1 year anniversary of my first free fall. I don't even know. I got a reminder somewhere earlier today, and I was like, "Wow, I didn't even realize." So it's been an awesome year. Awesome year.
Yay.
So thank all of you guys
We're all
for
better
some
for it.
awesome time.
Happy
back
anniversary.
in
Yeah.
Moringa. Okay,
Thanks,
so
TJ.
for a living, I tell trucks where to go. So I think I'd be good at telling shuttlecraft where to go. Like if there are shuttle operations going on, I can coordinate that from the bridge because I'm really good at pushing buttons and telling people what to do.
Nice.
That's an amazing answer.
That is very good. And speaking of
like that.
somebody that's really good at pushing buttons, Tim, what kind of answer do you have for it?
I'll be a little serious for a minute. When I was tasked with the orders to Afghanistan, I was the computer geek. And after 4 months of training before I left, I was the computer geek. I was the radioman. I was intel. And in one case, I was the sharpshooter. And it was like, I multitasked, and it was like, one of my proudest moments was some of the young kids I was with were having issues back at home. And so I was kind of like the dad. Okay, you need to do this. And that's the one thing I'm most proud of is because, I mean, they made my radio call sign Grandpa One because I was so much older than everybody. I was 50 and they were 18, 19. But, in between everything, I'd take these kids aside and say, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that. They're worried about at home and everything. And it's like, at that time, I'd been married for 20 years. I'd get an email from my wife saying, are you alive? And I'd send back, yes. And that was all that, but they were worried about this and that. And so the thing I'm most proud of is, I was the elder statesman. So if I were in Defiant, I'd just sit back and counsel everybody.
Nice.
Worf, lock it up. Nog, suck it up.
Grandpa One, right?
Yeah.
Hats off to that. That is incredibly special, I think, to have that kind of influence in people's lives when they need it. I think I agree with you that that's the thing to be the most proud of.
Mm-hmm.
I am, and I've kept in contact with some of them, and now they have kids, and so if I ever meet them again, I'm going to be the grandpa.
Aww.
So, honestly, a year tour in combat was hell, but that's the one thing I take away from it is that, these young kids look up to me. In some cases they outrank me, but they looked up to me. And so I was able to counsel them in the off-duty hours and, listen, do this, and they respected me. So
that's almost like an O'Brien role,
I was
where
just
O'Brien,
thinking that.
Yeah.
where he had some people that would outrank him, but he was still the chief,
Yeah. And I retired as a chief. So, okay. So
Nice. Well, Eve, that's a tough act to follow. What would you bring to the Defiant as your special skill?
Well, I was going to say something similar along the lines of what Tim just said. So because I just can't compete with that sort of analogy, I'm going to sort of even go there. But I probably would prefer not to be on the Defiant at all. I probably wouldn't like to be in that combat situation. So I think if I had to pick anything, I would probably, I think someone needs to test that their coffee's good. So I
coffee tester.
Gotta have good coffee. So I'll happily apply.
They're like, you've already tested my coffee 4 times.
She said,
just one more
don't
test.
drink Quark's Diet Roctagino or decaf. Don't try that.
It's an important job, so I'm happy to do it. Yeah,
It is.
You can make cookies too, like cookies like you do on the online.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cookies and coffee. Yeah, perfect.
Tester.
They're biscuits.
What are those called? Like quality control? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Quality, something like
She's
that.
the QC. Yeah.
QC pass.
All right, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, your thoughts?
I'm just being boring doctor. But also in sick bay, so I'm close to hypo sprays for like I get so motion sick. So hopefully it's more stabilized there.
You would totally be morale officer.
Yeah.
I like Mohammed's suggestion. Yes.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so lovely. Thank you. I'm such a Neelix.
Well, a morale officer would be probably like in the medical field, right?
Mhm. Oh,
Or
yeah.
chaplain.
Or a cook, a galley chef, like Neelix is.
Leola
Which
root.
I don't think you. Yeah, I would be on par with cooking Leola root.
Well, Homer, the pressure's on.
Well, initially I was going to say I could keep calm in a crisis and I could maybe talk to Sisko, but then I'd end up a punching bag. And then I was thinking I could be the morale officer and I could do a briefing with Homer, and Nog could relay that to engineering. But that has been said. So I think I'm going to be someone who would be on the bridge, and I would be looking at an instrument panel, and I would read out some numbers once in a while, and people may or may not listen to them. And I'd say the number
I'll listen when you say 47.
occasionally. Yeah, 47, Mark,
Yeah,
2.47.
yeah.
Homer's gonna
Yeah.
go. The shields are down to 47%.
Oh yeah, wait. So
Yes.
Cirroc, like on Voyager, Neelix has a morning show. He tries to have a morning talk show called A Briefing with Neelix. And he like just annoys everybody and goes around trying to like, I mean, it's a very morning show. So I love that Homer would have that.
Is that the one where he exposes
Yes.
Tom Paris as like the Kazon spy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Spoilers,
I
sorry.
just love A Briefing with Neelix.
Yeah, and it wouldn't work on the Defiant at this time because the comms are down. So I'd have to get creative, and maybe I could put together a PowerPoint presentation and print it out and have it in the quarters for everyone to wake up to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'd have to
I
do
love
this around a little bit. And
Breaking
brainstorm.
news: Eddington beat us
Yeah.
again.
Breaking news from last week. Yeah,
Sisko is sick.
Would you like
my PowerPoint skills are not great.
would you like write a different one for every crew member, like special, like special for them, like be a comma chameleon? What?
No.
The short answer is no.
Oh wait, what am I thinking?
I'm a chameleon.
Oh my god.
Cirroc, do you have
Best sound
anything
ever.
for us to round it out?
Yes, save us.
To cleanse our palate?
I don't know if you can top that.
It's fine if it's moonshine or something astringent like that too.
Cirroc SM18.
No, I don't know. I think I would just be going around writing about what I saw. I can't believe Nog is actually important on the ship right now. The whole thing is revolving around his communications.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Would you make us a sketch
Voiceover.
picture?
Yeah,
I'll
sketches.
make a sketch. And there was moments there where he would be talking. So it must be difficult for him to like have to repeat things because he gets a thing and then you would hear him repeating in the background, right?
In the
While the
background.
conversation continues to move forward. And they did that several times where he'd be repeating in the background.
Yeah.
So they'd lower the volume just a little bit.
Hmm.
You could still hear him back there repeating it, but
Yeah, I think
thought
that was some
kind of-
great work too.
Plus
Great
getting
work.
the timing
Interim
so
bridge,
perfect
full
with the
on
stuff
pulse.
on his ears, where like it's harder
Yes.
to hear. Like the timing is like spot on.
Yes.
And his uniform was the only one I liked. I don't like the new uniform.
Oh, I love those uniforms. What do you guys think?
I like the old ones better, but I loved they had
The
Nog.
black and grays. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
did those become new in? Like, do we remember?
not
Cadets?
It was just recently.
Just
Black-
recent. It was after First Contact came out.
Okay. It just becomes important it becomes a plot point for next episode. So I'm trying to figure out which episode.
Oh,
Okay, but no spoilers.
I think it's the next
Okay.
one.
Yeah, it is the next one, I think.
I think it's
Yeah,
the next
uniforms.
Yeah, but like the uniform is. I need to go back and find which episode they changed
no.
in a few episodes ago.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
it was in the last 4 or 5, I think.
Isn't it the one when Quark and Odo were trapped on the planet?
Oh,
The Ascent.
Ascent.
Or the one
I
after?
think that's right. Or
Yeah,
yes,
So
one of
that
those
was
two.
two
Around there.
episodes ago. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll say no more until next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's going on around
Can't even
here?
wait.
This one has uniform in the title.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the
This one
uniform.
does have uniform in the title.
True.
You betrayed your uniform.
I wanted
Yeah, that
to
was
get
a great speech, by the way, by Sisko when he was talking about betraying the uniform.
Yes, exactly.
Tim,
My-
actually, I was thinking about you. I was thinking about you when that scene came on.
And well, I most of you know I spent my entire adult life in the military. My nitpick about comms is there is a protocol on how to do communications. And whether I'm actually flying a plane or just watching a show, it's like 3 is tree. 9 is niner. It's like, could you guys get this right? And I'm on the comms on the plane. I'm like, he says, go to 330 or 3,000 feet. I'm like, you mean 3,000 feet? No, there's certain rules about comms, how you say it. And, you know, Q is Quebec, but we say Quebec. Just so you can understand it on the radio.
Mm.
And it's like, okay, you know, most of the comms now are like higher tech than they used to be back in World War II, but still the rules are in place. Use them.
That's a good nitpick.
I like that nitpick.
Oh,
What's
it's
the nip?
Quality nitpick. Yeah.
Next time.
Quality.
good.
Quality.
Next time, make sure you go to Warp Tree.
Yes,
Yeah, warp tree.
exactly.
That is hilarious.
Tree.
Warp tree scene. Original warp
That would be
tree.
very confusing.
All right. Well, we
Shields
better
are down
run.
to 9%.
Yeah, DS9.
Exactly.
All right. So we do want to thank, of course, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Sue, Tim, Melissa, Mohammed, Eve, Homer, and Anne Marie. Thank you guys so much
Thank
for joining
you.
us. Everybody at home, please remember to, give this video a like, give us, a 15-star rating. If it only goes up to 5, give it 5. And also always remember the 7th rule.